During the 2008 Democratic primary, Hillary Clinton had a famous speech where she was quoted on saying, "It takes a village to raise a family." I mean, that really was probably never true to begin with, but 2008 was arguably the last time you needed a village really for anything. And one of the major growth trends for the economy, basically since the 2010s, has been the idea of buying the village, which a lot of technology companies have built software apps that effectively replace major roles in the community. And in this episode of Analyzing Finance with Nick, I'm going to talk about how we have been able to turn community roles into free market commodities and what are the implications of this for the economy and socially. Welcome to Analyzing Finance with Nick. Today we're going to talk about the idea of buying the village. Over the last 50 years or so, we've had globally big increases in wealth, and along with that, you've seen some changes in modern Western culture that have led to the disintegration of families, churches, civic organizations, non-governmental participatory groups such as fraternal organizations or bowling leagues, etc. And in general, any sort of communities or association between people built on unchosen bonds, such as religion, ethnic background, community, the parochialism of where somebody is from, family, etc. School ties also I put in that category. A lot of services that have previously been provided voluntarily by family members or a community now have to be purchased by businesses providing these services, or just people are opting to because declining social skills, people are less comfortable asking for help from family members or non-family members in the local community. Like, I'm just going to ask the viewers of this show, how many of you actually know who your neighbors are and have talked to them, say, more than once a month? 30 years ago or 40 years ago, that would be unimaginable, but in most major metropolitan areas today, most people don't know and don't really care to ever speak to their neighbors. How many of you are involved in any sort of civic organization or non-government style community outside of your school or your place of work? How many of you have been involved in some sort of non-government organization or community group? They're more popular in the post-war era, but have been gradually declining with societal changes since the 1960s. And in the wake of the 2008 financial crisis, when a lot of more capital-intensive businesses no longer were receiving investments, real estate has been destroyed and interest rates are at zero, and there's money looking to invest in things that are asset-light and efficient, along with this just breaking down of social ties that happens with economic weakness. The market was able to fill this gap of lack of community with applications that replace a lot of the roles of community or what your family used to help you with in the past. Examples include hiring an Uber versus having a family member drive you to the airport, sending your kids to a daycare instead of extended family watching them, going to therapy or using an AI to chat with, or one of these therapy remote apps such as BetterHelp or Seven Cups, etc., instead of talking to your friends and family. And 20% of millennials and Gen Z don't even have any friends, so that's if you have friends, about your problems, because people just don't have the time or interest to listen. This collective replacement of community assistance through contracting it out, I identify it as buying the village. And you should literally just find an application that could do any part of what used to be done by the collective village or a local community. More extreme examples include the app WAG, that you pay somebody $20 to $30 an hour to walk your dog for you if you don't have time or the inclination to do that. Instead of cooking, a lot of young professionals now just have fast food delivered via DoorDash for all their meals every day instead of learning how to cook or having a spouse or some other family member do that for them. Other examples include and similar apps to help people move, TaskRabbit for any sort of handiwork or task that requires like fixing something around the house. And the most extreme version of this would be dating apps or parasocial relationship apps, whether they're a real person or AI, basically replacing people going out to meet their potential spouses. You have even like people using influencers from platforms like this to replace talking to people or going to church. And then also education, like the idea of going to school or further in-person education, I think is slowly going to be replaced with remote options with a lot of these educational apps like Duolingo for languages. So the idea is that any kind of service that used to be done from your community outside the home, you can now do at home through an app of some sort. There are some people who benefit from this greatly, particularly introverts and single, childless people who tend to be more transient, move a lot for jobs, and therefore don't have a community or live far away from their families, and have the disposable income that they can afford to outsource a lot of the tasks of day-to-day life and be just super independent to the point that you literally can probably go weeks or months without talking to anybody. And however, it's a net negative on disposable incomes as a whole, because money that was previously spent for zero to low cost services that were done just usually out of the kindness of people in your life, now you have to be paid for through these services and the brokerage fee effectively for the apps to connect the service provider to the individual. The other winner is the visible economy, for lack of a better term. With previously voluntary exchanges being turned into commoditized businesses, that means higher GDP numbers, more corporate revenue, and therefore more earnings for shareholders, even though a lot of these companies don't make money, at least. And then you have all the employees who have to work for these companies, so it creates jobs, and the corporate profits and or wages paid create more income tax for the government. So the institutional side of the economy benefits a lot, and then the shareholder value and equity value of these companies' stock is now wealth that is held by the shareholders. But the main expense is in the mental health and overall happiness of people, where they basically sacrifice having a true community and a support system for everything being replaced in actual pay-for-play style services. And this might lead to just people who grew up with everything being able to be bought on an app, perceiving that every sort of human interaction and relationship has to be a transactional one in some sort, which would set a very sad precedent. And we're already starting to see this with the idea of people saying go to therapy instead of being a social support system for their troubled friends or family. And this could keep driving a lot of these problems. And also, if people know that everything can be outsourced in terms of chores or other community roles, companies might offer these as benefits in exchange for people working more hours. And so it can create a more competitive culture that way. Let me know your thoughts. What is the implication of the village being bought and community effectively being commoditized by digital apps? I've shared my ideas. I would like to hear yours. So please leave your thoughts in the comments and share this video and like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.